Hey folks, Doug Blake with Body Design University. In this video, I want to talk to you about some tried and true study methods and maybe some habits, things like that, that go along with the whole studying process. Quite often I'll get questions specific to materials themselves, but more often than not, what's underlying a lot of those questions is one really big, important question, which is exactly how do I study, right? I mean, I don't know this word or I don't know this concept or I'm struggling with memorizing or remembering this information. And that comes down to your studying, your study habits, your study methodology. So that's what I wanted to kind of go over with you a little bit today. There are some tried and true ways to do it. Now, understand something. The way you study, how much time you study, your methodology definitely has a lot to do with the material that you're studying as well. So if you're just trying to memorize material, like memorize words, so a single word and just memorize a list of words or terms, that's one thing. If you're trying to memorize words that have a definition or a concept that has a definition to it or something like this, like we deal with in the fitness industry. So you've got to know what is the definition of autogenic inhibition. So you've got to memorize the word and its definition, and that can be a little challenging. And that's kind of the idea, is that there are some basic ways that you can anybody, and it works for just about anybody many ways that you can do this, but some of the most tried and true ways to do it are what we call the read, write, recite method. Now, for sure, there's a million ways you could look at this or different ways, and everybody has their own methodology or way of studying. But there are some basic concepts here that I want you to understand when you're going through any of this material, particularly the Body Design University materials. Read, write, recite. It is a standard, general, overall, great way to memorize material well enough to help you answer questions on exams. And when I say read, write, recite, I'm saying is that you got to be able to read the material. And to be honest with you, you're going to go through a lot of paper. At least I do when I do my studying. You're going to go through a lot of paper and you're going to write a fair amount. So, depending on your learning style, you may spend more or less time on those three terms that I just gave you: read, write it, and recite it. In other words, say it out loud. So, you'll notice that the read, write, recite concept brings in the three main or general overarching learning styles, right? Reading, right? So there's this visual component to learning, but reading for most people is not a great way to memorize information. It's a good start. Writing something is a great way after you've read it, this material and its definition, a word and its definition, rewriting it. Rewrite the word, rewrite its definition on a sheet of paper. That's a great way. So that's hitting sort of, I would say the tactile, but yeah, writing has that little tactile component to it. But remember, tactile simply means that you should be using something in your other hand to divert that need for tactile stimulation. That's what a tactile learner is. Um, and then there is the audiological, one of the most often unused components to learning. And that's basically because people don't want to be in the library speaking out loud when they're studying. Yet, ironically enough, the audiological component to learning can be really, really effective, very powerful for the type of learner that has this audiological component to it. So read, rewrite, and recite. Now, again, this is just simple, basic study methodology. You've got your information, your material that you need to study and learn or memorize, and you have a pen and a pad. So whatever you're reading, you need to rewrite it on a sheet of paper. Now, if that works for you, that's great. You read it and you rewrite it. It's when you say it out loud, when you read a sentence out loud, when you read a word and its definition out loud, that could add that extra bit of retention, memory and retention that could push you over the edge to really learn information and material. And so, again, the basic methodology then of read, write, recite is read the material first. I like to rewrite my material, right? But I actually like to say it out loud or hear it first before I even rewrite it. So if I've got information that I'm looking at, I like to look at it and say it out loud so I can hear it. Why? Because I've got an audiological component to my learning style that I find very valuable when I'm hearing something. Like if I've got a book, an online textbook or something, I will turn it on and listen to it while I'm reading it. For instance, I find that it's really pretty helpful. Now, is it time consuming? Absolutely, it's time consuming, but you're going to put the time in either in the front end, like reading it, rewriting it, saying out loud. That takes a long time, but that's the upfront time cost versus going through it, reading it, highlighting it, doing this and that. And then you got to go back over it again because you didn't memorize it. You didn't remember what you wrote. Well, I'd rather put time up front to where it actually sticks. This way, when I do a rewrite on my notes or I do a rewrite on the terminology that I'm trying to memorize, it actually sticks that much better. So I hope this is making sense. Read it, rewrite it, or read it, say it out loud and then rewrite it, or you can do it all at the same time. So I'll give you, I always use the same example. What is the definition of a sarcomere, right? So you would look, you'd have it, that information in front of you. So a sarcomere and you read it. You can read it in your head. Doesn't really work well for me, and for most people it doesn't work. But I could start reading it and say it out loud. So the sarcomere, if I have it in front of me, the sarcomere, you hear I'm saying it out loud, is the fundamental contractile unit of the muscle cell. I just said it out loud. Now that actually helped me to remember it a little bit. And some of you, you might find it very helpful. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say it again, and I might say it in my head this time, but now I'm going to rewrite it. So I'm going to write sarcomere is equal to the fundamental contractile. Yes, I'm literally writing it out that way. Now I could compress it down if I want to, as far as the definition is concerned. But doing that, it's going to help me to memorize what the definition of a sarcomere is. Try it. Try it with your materials. Anything you're trying to learn. If it's a word and a definition, one of the best ways to do it is, and again, me personally, I like to read it and say it out loud first. I'm just more comfortable with that. Then I rewrite it. You might want to read it and go, okay, let me just rewrite this real quick. Sarcomere, and then say it out loud. The sarcomere is a fundamental contractile unit of the muscle cell. Got it. Okay. And you could say it over and over and over again. Some people like to do that. That repetitive nature of studying can be very, very helpful. You can rewrite it. Again, I like to do that. I use up a lot of paper when I'm going through particular materials that I'm trying to learn. So, are there other methodologies for studying? Absolutely. But I will tell you this, that over the years, this has been the most effective, and I will say the most efficient way, meaning the amount of time I put in to get the type of memorization, level of memorization that I'm looking for to pass tests, to memorize the material and regurgitate it. So just keep that in mind. Read, write it, or read it, recite it, however you want to do it. Try and get all three of those in there. For you, you'll find which works the best. And then, of course, the only way you really know that you are memorizing and learning this material is by regurgitating it on a test. Okay, taking practice exams, quizzes, or using, like we use Quizlet quite a bit, using flashcards. And so flashcard technology can go along with this to help and assist to make sure, and use it as a diagnostic to make sure you're actually learning the material. The other thing to keep in mind that frequency of exposure to the materials should be done on a periodic basis because even with what I just explained to you, that only goes into your working or short-term type of memory. You need to continue to do it over and over until it goes into sort of a midterm, long-term memory scenario. So I hope that this was helpful. Because at the end of the day, you got to memorize the stuff. You got to memorize it in order to be able to utilize it while answering questions on a test or in the real world when you're actually talking and assisting your clients with their training. So if you've got any questions on this, put it in the comment section below. By the way, if this was helpful, write the word understand in there as well. Give us a thumbs up if you thought it was helpful. As always, just let us know if we can be of assistance in helping you with your BDU materials, or your NASM or your ACE materials as well, because we do want folks that are with us in the BDU coursework to pass their national exam as well. Remember to subscribe to the channel. If you haven't done so, give us a thumbs up and share it, by the way, as well. You'd be surprised at how many people are out there doing coursework in other areas of study that this could benefit. Have a great week. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks. Bye.